Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle. We're on a roll here in the new series I started this year. It's January 31. I think I've done 7 videos so far in this series. This is number 8. And the name is The New World Order, Media and Press Releases. And I'm randomly going through the years and different topics. Sky spraying, global warming. We haven't touched on the Israeli, Jewish, Zionism, Middle East series yet. I've sorted a lot of those media and press releases by the years. I'm going to do another one on the gay agenda. A little closer to this time. This is 2014. So I'll get right to it. This ought to be interesting. I hope people are enjoying this series of a cruise through time. Since I started all this in around 2005, every year when I was checking my email, running my business, traveling, even in Mexico, Cozumel, wherever I was, Maine, Santa Fe. I've been to all these places in the last 11 years. North Carolina, Florida. There I was being a business consultant, sales, doing my job, reading books, seeing the press releases when you check your email and other things on the internet, Yahoo. When you're just looking at the Yahoo site and log on, the Yahoo News, and these titles jump right out at you. And you go, oh my, and you click it and you read it, and nobody will believe it, so you print out a copy. That's what I did. Sarkozy says France's gay marriage law should be scrapped. You see, this is a hotly debated issue. I think there are some sinister purposes behind the gay agenda, which has the rainbow for its symbol, which is also the New Age agenda, which has the rainbow for its symbol, which is also part of the plan of promoting this ascension type, we are gods and do as thou wilt religion, whilst they want to destroy Christianity. It's becoming very clear, if anybody wants to pay attention. If they want to be in denial, then just admit they're in denial. And the apathy of the Christians and the other good people in good religions, even the Jews who didn't turn towards the dark side. Many of the Jews, whether they're in on it or not, are benefiting from this aim of Eliah bringing all the Jews back to Israel, the New World Order controlled by the Zionist Jews. But I admit that a lot of Jews are not in on it, but I also know that through their families and friends, they are aware of things. And if they don't step up, like Henry Mackau, PhD author in Canada, who wrote the book Illuminati, The Cult That Hijacked the World, or Rabbi Marvin Antleman, who wrote the 2 books, Volume 1, Volume 2, to eliminate the opate. And opate means to believe in God, the comfort. See, there is a spiritual realm. I think a lot of people, they use some common sense, look at historical documents, read anything on psychic research, remote viewing. They will know that there are spiritual entities, you call them ghosts, demons, gray aliens, reptilians. There's something more out there. And this is part of the New Age material, communicating with these masters, Palladians, star system Sirius, and many other, Orion. All kinds of beings they say that are out there. But as we know about demonic beings, Lucifer, Satan, Baphomet, Ra, Osiris, and Isis, and their son Horus, the all-seeing eye, on a dollar bill, and the pyramids in Egypt. So something is amiss. And so when I read these articles, Sarkozy says France's gay marriage law should be scrapped. There's a couple purposes, reasons behind this. One is, of course, political, to get elected. And then when you do get elected, if you're going to get elected, you've got to have money. And you got to appease those folks who are controlling our world. And obviously the people who control our world are the Illuminati, Freemasons, kings and queens, CEOs, banksters, Zionists, and many other elitist behind the scenes, apparently into the satanic Luciferic religion, sacrificing people, drinking blood, eating flesh throughout history. Nobody can deny this. Watch the movies on TV, watch the TV programming and shows, and read some books. You don't think this is true? Then keep watching this video. So November 15, 2014, French ex-president Nicolas Sarkozy speaks at a debate organized by Common Sense, a conservative movement within the main opposition. Paris, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, who has embarked on a political comeback, on Saturday said France's gay marriage law should be scrapped. He was appeasing to the conservative people in society in France. No doubt about it. But that's not the only reason the gay agenda should be scrapped. The New Age agenda should be scrapped, and why they shouldn't be trying to scrap Christianity and other religions and peoples, whether they're even atheists, but peoples who are into decency, who are not into group sex, sodomy, homosexuality, pansexual, bestiality with animals, pedophilia with children, transgenderism. All these things that are being promoted by the elitists behind the scenes. Why? That's the question. The same-sex marriage law, which came into force on May 2013, also legalized gay adoption. So you also got these people now being able to get their clutches on children. Should be rewritten from the ground up, Sarkozy told audience members at a debate organized by Common Sense. His words were met with jeers and chants of repeal, 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 prompting the former president to add, "If you prefer, I will say repeal the law if it comes down to the same thing." Now remember, even in the United States, overwhelmingly, whenever the people were allowed to vote on the issue, thumbs down. So they had to take the gay agenda folks. Who are they behind this whole thing? Had to take it to the judges or the legislators, spending their money and time, which they have unlimited amount of money, if Prime Minister Sharon of Israel is correct. Don't worry about America. We control America. So they control our Federal Reserve. They can spend all the money they want on anything they want. So they can put pro-gay agenda people in political office. Pro-gay agenda judges into positions of justices. Like the Supreme Court has right now, who just ruled that states can't ban gay marriage. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes, as I keep saying, to figure this stuff out. There is a plot. Some people call it a conspiracy. Albert Pike wrote about it in 1880-something, to his letter to his friend Mazzini in Italy, which was on display in a museum in London, saying that there would be 3 world wars required to bring about a new world order. There's something higher dimensional about this cosmic spiritual realm behind the scenes. We get to live here for 50, 60, maybe 100 years, and then we die. Where does your spirit go? Are any of those spiritual entities malevolent and evil? According to the Bible, yes, Lucifer was cast out. The New Agers would have you believe he was misunderstood. And a third of the angels went with him. Booted out of heaven. Whatever that reality is like. He has in the past called for a contentious gay marriage law which sparked huge street protests in France. So in the past, he called for a contentious gay marriage law, which sparked huge street protests in France. But now he wants to get reelected, so he has to appease the majority of the people. And as soon as he gets in office, as we already know with the Bushes and Clintons and Obamas and the rest of them, Woodrow Wilson, Roosevelt, etc., 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 they lie to get in office, and then they do whatever these masters behind the scenes again tell them to do, who control the planet and the money, and our Federal Reserve, which was taken over in 1913, Christmas vacation, by the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Morgans, Chases, Illuminati, Zionist Jewish folks, evil, and controlled Woodrow Wilson. All the advisors around Woodrow Wilson were Jewish advisors, much to the disdain of the other people in Congress and House of Representatives and in government. The people who controlled Woodrow Wilson were not very nice people. They plotted to bring the United States into World War I. They said a ferry crashed over there, sunk off of Britain's coast, and some Americans were killed. And Woodrow Wilson quickly said, "War on Germany." Later on, they found out the ferry didn't sink. It was all planned behind the scenes. They were gearing up for war. It was all a political farce. Germany was winning the war that Germany didn't start. Britain was losing its economic empire worldwide, and it wanted to regain its position of power. Had nothing to do with us people in the United States. And how many people in Britain and in Germany and surrounding countries in France were killed? And also to bring down the empire that was controlling the Middle East, Ottoman Empire, so they could get their clutches on the Palestine's land, and as we have seen since 9/11, the rest of the Middle East. Though officially a secular republic, France is overwhelmingly Catholic. And the issue of gay adoption and marriage, a key campaign pledge of Sarkozy's successor, socialist President Francisco Hollande, sparked a deeply divisive debate in the country. Look it up, don't believe me, print out a copy. And I also think another reason for the whole sexual debacle, bringing us the perversions and insane transgenderism, pansexual, pedophilia, and gay marriage issues thrown in our face all the time. I think it is to divide the peoples. There is a sinister force behind the scenes running things. And I know what you're thinking. Rick. Okay, what about this? Satanic group reveals crowd-funded monument for Oklahoma State Capitol. You can't make this stuff up. It's right in front of our faces in the news. Look at the horns. The ears. Goat's ears. Goat's head. And look at the children looking at the creature in awe. Is there a message here? Have the witchcraft folks actually taken over our world? The occult? The things behind the Freemasons, the Illuminati, Rosicrucians, and all the other New Age material, the Theosophist Society, Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey. And a lot of those New Age books were published by Lucas Trust Publishing. You can look this up on Wikipedia. Lucas means light, and it used to be called originally Lucifer Publishing, and Lucifer means light. So, and then the Statue of Liberty is carrying a torch, light. If you look around, you'll see that torch everywhere. Sun's rays, light, the sun god. A satanic statue cast in bronze is just months away from completion, and activists hope that it will find a home on the lawn of the Oklahoma State Capitol. So you want to put the devil on the lawn of the Oklahoma State Capitol. And go look at CERN in Geneva. They got Shiva with the many arms, the goddess of destruction out front. The logo is 666. Geneva is in Switzerland and in France on the border. Formerly, the home of the origin of the myth Frankenstein monster, and the home of the Illuminati for 1,000 years or something, they say. You can't make this stuff up. Ultimately, the statue, which features the 7-foot-tall horned figure of Baphomet, fawned upon by two exuberant children, is intended to stand directly next to a highly controversial monument of the 10 Commandments that was donated by a state legislator in 2012 and subsequently placed on the grounds of the Capitol. So the 10 Commandments, let's see. Number 6, do not kill. Number 7, do not commit adultery. Number 8, do not steal. Number 9, do not bear false witness. Don't lie. Number 10, do not covet. Envy, vie, want something somebody else has. What is wrong with those commandments? I've had people comment on my videos or my essays when I post them on press releases, telling me I'm crazy for thinking we shouldn't be killing people. Go back on your medications. Of course we should be killing people. Raping children, raping women, abducting people, having sacrifices, drinking blood, eating flesh, communicating with the demons from beyond. You think I'm making this up? Go look this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. The Baphomet figure, complete with a goat head, angel wings, and a beard, comes from a recently formed New York group identified as the Satanic Temple. Satanic Temple spokesman Lucian Greaves tells ABC News that the statue is a symbol to celebrate our progress as a pluralistic nation founded on secular law. So they would like us to believe. There were two forces when they founded America, when the Pilgrims came here. There were the Masonic forces, the Masonic lodges, the Freemasons, and their ilk. And surely there were evil people. But there were an abundance of Christians and other religious people who came to the United States. So it was a conflict back then. And back then they didn't have Republican and Democratic parties. They had the Mason Party and the Anti-Mason Party. Look up John Quincy Adams, President of the United States. Letters on Freemasonry is the name of the book. Anyways, it was a heated battle, and obviously the evil, Masonic, demonic folks with this guy as their divine god had no qualms about murder and mayhem. So they beat up the Christian, the anti-Masonic party people, and vowed never to allow a non-Mason into politics, in the political arena again. So today, if you do want to get elected into the Senate or the House of Representatives, I would generally say that these people come from the Council of Foreign Relations, or some Freemasonic Lodge, or Illuminati, Bilderberger Group, or one of many of these satanic organizations with this dude as their deity. All a person has to do is look it up. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, is currently challenging the Ten Commandments. The American Civil Liberties Union. These things always sound so nice. But they're challenging the Ten Commandments statute in court on grounds it violates the Constitution's Establishment Clause against a national religion. I took comparative religious courses in college. I think we had an Iranian teacher. And it was one of those optional courses. And the teacher showed that all of the religions generally have the same commandments. Thou shalt not kill is common in all religions, except those who were kicked out of heaven's religion. All right, moving on. Poll shows the majority of Americans oppose transgender people using preferred bathroom. Watch Anderson Cooper decimates GOP representative anti-gay argument. Anderson Cooper's an interesting character. He's holding a picture, drawing of an owl, which is a symbol of these evil entities, like the Moloch owl in the Bohemian Grove. Look this stuff up. In California, where a lot of our political leaders have been photographed, and they have a ceremony called the cremation of care, where they throw a baby into a burning fire under a giant owl. Ship in gay men, and all the other men in the group are in long robes. A satanic Illuminati evil ritual. Throwing a baby into a burning fire. When asked about this, they said, no, it wasn't a real baby. It was an effigy. I say, what the heck does it matter? So, and how do we know it wasn't a real baby? And why would they have a pretend satanic ritual? Why are there many videos on YouTube and other websites? Don't even look up witchcraft holidays and stuff like that. You'll see things that you wish you hadn't have seen. Learn things you wish you didn't know. It's a classic example of ignorance may be bliss. The truth can really hurt your head. I knew my 9-year-old son's type pretty. So how does somebody know their 9-year-old is gay? There's something wrong here. Look at the top 10 LGBT-friendly states. Gay dads who went viral on Instagram. Here's a couple gay dads. Look here. Look, bisexual True Blood star makes. Gay dads share their personal stories. Gay dads again on the bottom there. So here I am over the years, starting at 2005, going about my business, but intentionally doing research, paying attention, and documenting things. That was my goal. No speaking out, no videos, no writing books. I promised myself a 10-year commitment to study before I was allowed to think that I could make those kinds of decisions. And prior to my investigation, I was a kind of a average citizen. Worked, had a sailboat or power boats, and lived in Florida, Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, drinking beer, listening to Jimmy Buffett, reggae music, just overall good life, with some challenges and events like everybody else. But when I started my investigation, I started paying attention to this stuff. Some more on this page: gay voices, transgender, bisexual, lesbian, gay marriage, voice to voice, acceptance and inclusion, Pride 2014, LGBT wellness. So my point here also is, where is the money coming from? What is the agenda behind the scene? We know it's the New Age and the New World Order. But what really is that? And they do control our Federal Reserve, and the United Nations is now the arm they're operating through. So they're using our own Federal Reserve and tax money to brainwash the world, America. Even back then with the Pokemon, the little children's toys and cartoons. If you ever watch your children's cartoons, you won't let your children watch TV if you care about this stuff, or you care about your children. And a lot of those animated adult cartoons, if you knew what your husband was watching, you'd go over there and hit him in the head and get him away from the TV. Stop it. That information is just retarded. But some people are just so mind zombied out. Drinking beer, smoking, taking drugs, medications, and worse. Porn on their computer, porn magazines. The surprising gay appeal of Old Charm City. Rick Santorum's latest anti-gay move revealed. So like I said, back there during the years I see these things and I printed them out. I had them in boxes and in the closet and in the drawers and under the bed boxes, everywhere I was storing all this material, and I got so many books I can't even handle storing them. So I finally thought, 2016, it's time to do something with this stuff. Why not review it all? Probably take all year long. New project explores the diverse transgender and gender non-conforming community, and pastor has absurd advice for parents of gay kids. Look at this one gay guy. Is there not something wrong with that? Is that the way we want our whole society? I think not. Beyonce is selling sex to her young audience, legendary actress claims. Here are the queer films you need to see this year. Here are the queer films you need to see this year. These are the highlights that were in the news. There's Beyonce selling sex. Look, the top 10 most LGBT-friendly cities in the U.S. will surprise you. Again, marketing this stuff with our tax dollars. It's all meant for a social change. Watch Anderson Cooper decimate GOP's reptilian anti-gay argument. Yeah, I was mentioning Anderson Cooper earlier, a strange guy. But during Sandy Hook, which seems to be an overwhelming false flag, with crisis actors meant as propaganda for public consumption. And the old guy in the back of the thing there is doing this, the devil sign. Even the little girl's doing the devil sign. And Anderson Cooper's holding that picture of the owl. Again, the symbol for demon god. Bohemian Grove, look that up. Alec Jones' video, Bohemian Grove. He snuck in there and videoed the whole thing. Quite crazy. The Beautiful Way Nordstrom is celebrating LGBT Pride Month. And they're trying to cancel Christmas, but we're going to get Pride Month. Hallmark groundbreaking move for gay dads on Father's Day. These stunning images reveal the soul of this trans and genderqueer community, NFW. Just curious. You got a black guy and a white guy and a little girl. That's the family. What are you going to do? I guess you just have to keep fighting until they start beheading Christians. Hillary has awkward exchange over her stance on gay marriage. There was that one guy that's out there, public speaker now, talking about, he was Hillary Clinton's advisor, enforcer even, when they were in politics way back in Arkansas and then earlier. And apparently one of the biggest things about Hillary was she would sneak off to Las Vegas for events with witches. That's what he says. What's his name, you ask? This is pretty important information, if true. So I went and looked at my computer, and on YouTube you can click the history button, and it shows you videos you have watched. But I've watched a few on the Alex Jones show, as well as Lisa Haven and others, talk about his adventures with the Clinton family. It's like 59, something like that, former Clinton advisors, employees that are all now dead. But Larry Nichols, the downfall of Hillary Clinton and the murder of Vince Foster, on Peter McWhitterer video. But just look up Larry Nichols and Hillary Clinton and you'll see some of the videos. And he tells all. Apparently she even bragged about having Vince Foster killed. And he said they were concerned when she would skate off on weekends to witches' meetings or events or rituals. Apparently, like I told you, they do these people into the Illuminati and witchcraft. Just like people who go to regular church have religious holidays. These witches have regular holidays. And part of their practices is sacrificing people to death, drinking the blood, eating the flesh, having crazy sex or raping people, and all kinds of horrible stuff. Look it up. Don't believe me. R. Kelly's child reveals he is transgender. J. Kelly's kind of scared to tell. Anaheim police investigating suspicious death of transgender victim. Transgender surgery isn't the solution. Just different topics here. Southern Baptist Convention approves anti-transgender resolution. Transgender Miami Beach City employees granted trans health care insurance. Not quite sure what all this is about, but it doesn't sound too good. The play's the thing. Homeless transgender youth act their way towards justice. Homeless transgender youth. The transgender tipping point to censorship. You can't make this stuff up. Look it up. Pause your computer, write it down. Lawmakers passed a bill last year that allows transgender public school students to use the restrooms and play on the sports teams that correspond to their gender identity. So if you're a girl and you want to think you're a boy, you can be on the football team. And if you're a boy and you want to be a girl, you can probably be a cheerleader. Some of this just hurts the brain to think about, and I think that's the purpose. And that's what it says in the Jewish Protocols of Zion, is they want to confuse the masses of people, divide and conquer, create some kind of event where people riot and kill each other. It's part of the plan. Brought to you by this guy. Look at those children. Guess that guy likes kids. You think? While the American public's response to this CBS poll shows how much work we have left to do when it comes to education about transgender lives, experiences, and rights, the transgender community is gaining more and more visibility. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the rest of us are going broke. Losing homes, losing jobs. The Arabs are being forced out of the entire Middle East, those who are not murdered. They're sending them up there into Germany and Switzerland and all over Europe and in Greece, where all kinds of chaos and anarchy is going on. They're converting UPS planes for passengers and flying them into New York City, Washington, D.C. airports in the middle of the night with buses waiting for them, and putting them in remote communities where the community peoples are up in alarm. These foreigners are taking over their city councils and everything. Something is planned and it's going on. Even that one video I watched with that girl, 16-year-old German girl, pleading for people to stop this insanity, where these groups of these immigrated thugs brought in are apparently, in the news, accosting and raping the women. The girls are in fear. And what does Angela Merkel say? Who used to be one of my heroes. Apparently, she's either been possessed by some demon or controlled by the Illuminati, and her colors are coming out. Controlled by the Zionists. I know in Germany, because of World War II, the Zionist Jewish folks, which control the U.S., as Prime Minister of Israel Sharon said, don't worry about the USA, we control the USA. So these Zionist, Jewish, bankster, Rothschild folks control Germany. And there's a lot of laws, my point here, is that you can't say maybe some of the things I'm saying on this video. And if they get their way and remove the guns from the USA people, then they can also decide that hate speech is anything that is anti-government or this guy's religion. Just saying, that's what seems what's going on here. That's why I'm doing these videos. Queer issues, transgender bathrooms, transgender issues, LGBT, transgender, trans bathrooms. So look this stuff up. Dave, I know my 9-year-old son's type. Pretty boys with dark. So they're saying these 9-year-old boys are transgenders or gay or something. And here's a picture, I guess, of the new coming to our world bathrooms. Boy, girl, and boy, girl. A troubling new poll has found that a majority of Americans are not on board with letting transgender individuals use the bathroom that corresponds to their gender identity. What did I just say? A troubling new poll. This writer says it's a troubling new poll has found that a majority of Americans are not on board with letting transgender individuals use the bathroom that corresponds to their gender identity. So a girl who wants to be a boy, dressed like a butch, wants to go and use the boys' bathroom. And because the public is upset about this, this author says that's a troubling new poll. They want to ban Jesus and bring us this guy. I'll choose Jesus any day. According to the poll conducted by CBS News, 59% of Americans believe that transgender individuals should use the bathroom that corresponded to with the gender they were assigned at birth. Duh! If you're a girl, use the girl bathroom. And if you're not interested in boys and you like girls, well, you're in the right bathroom. A little sense of humor on this conversation. The use of public restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms by transgender individuals has long been a polarizing issue. You think? In early 2013, transgender first grader, 6 years old kid, is a transgender kid. Coy Mathis was barred from using the girls' restroom at her school. The case sparked a national debate about school policies for transgender children. And I will say this, if there is some kind of medical flip-flop here, and the person looks like a girl, and nobody knows anything different. I mean, how do you know if they look like a boy, they should be in the boys' bathroom, and the girls go in the girls' bathroom? It's just maybe they're aliens. Maybe they're introducing something new into our society. Remember, Hitler was into eugenics and a new super race. These people are all into this Luciferian thing. All right, moving on. New Hampshire father opposes required reading of pornographic novel in 9th grade English. So 14 and 15-year-old teenagers were required to read pornographic novel. I believe I would have enough. I would be upset about that. I raised a couple boys, and I've got to tell you, it's not easy. You're doing the laundry, and the 10-year-old has a condom in his pocket. You're going, what are you doing with this? You shouldn't be doing that at 10 years old. Neighbor down the street would come over and punch me in the face if the boy was after his little 10-year-old girl. And I wouldn't blame him. Crazy. Common sense is the problem here. But then again, common sense is now called hate. Guilford, New Hampshire, William Bear has encountered some eyebrow-raising policies and practices during his children's years in public school, but he still wasn't prepared for what he discovered late Wednesday night. I remember when one of the boys came home from school, in his book on history, it was a page, and I looked at it, and it was an insert the teacher had given the kids that said Jesus was a myth. So unbeknownst, and on Sundays we would all go to church with my grandmother. I was raising my sister's 2 boys for a while. She went over had some personal problems. But we would go to church. My grandmother was living with me, and I had started my first business. And they had an insert in his book. It said Jesus was a myth. So they are after the minds of the children without the parents knowing about it. Just like the cartoons and other stuff that the children get. That if the parents don't monitor it, they're not aware of it. And it's quite detrimental to the thinking. Telling them this guy is their hero. Look at the kids. That was the night Bear learned that his 14-year-old daughter had been assigned to read a novel that contained a passage so sexually explicit that he described it as pornographic. The novel, 19 Minutes, picture of it here. It's about child sex. By Jodi Picoult, is a controversial book that tells a story of a fictional school shooting and the people it affects. School officials gave no notice to parents of freshman English students that the book was being read or the novel's sexually explicit content. Bear tells EAG News he became aware of the book's objectionable material purely by chance. The friend picked up the book at his house. So he had a friend come over to the house and pick up the book. Casually opened it to page 313, which contained a very graphic description of a sexual encounter between two adolescents. The friend was aghast as he read the passage and asked Bear if he was aware of the book's content. He said, "I was shocked when I read the passage, and not so much shocks me anymore." Bear said, "My wife was stunned by the increasingly graphic nature of the sexual content of the scene, the imagery it evoked." Here's an excerpt of the explicit passage. "Relax," Matt murmured. Then he sank his teeth into her shoulder. He pinned her hands over her head and groped his hips against hers. She could feel his erection, hot against her stomach. You want your 14-year-old girl to be reading that, or boy? And now we wonder why I have all these people approving, because these people now are not 14, they're 24 and 34 and 44. So they don't know any better because the school system has been acting behind the scenes, destroying Christianity and promoting this guy. You can't make this stuff up. You can go look it up. Imagine me over the years. I didn't know what I know now. I would have thought what anybody else thought. You're crazy. Once you start looking, seek and ye shall find. Government schools pushing their perverted worldview. An EGA News investigation finds that Picoult's 19 Minutes is used in several school districts throughout the nation. So if anybody doesn't think this stuff is all premeditated, there's much evidence out there about getting rid of the destroying Christianity and eventually probably making it illegal and persecuting and prosecuting, if not even beheading people who don't swear allegiance and take the mark of the beast from this guy. Just saying. It is what it is. All right, another document. Government tells Christian ministers perform same-sex weddings or face jail fines. So it's not even an option of what you can be, and which in the future they predict that the Christians will be persecuted, prosecuted, and beheaded. That's the preferred way to kill them. So all of this is based on this guy. And the government tells Christian ministers, remember the people who are in government office all across the country come from the lodges, Masonic lodges, Freemasonry, Council of Foreign Relations, Bilderberger groups. They had to pass some tests and make sure they were doing the right thing, or they wouldn't be in office. They wouldn't get the money from the Jewish political PACs and the other organizations. You have to agree to vote and do what they tell you. Officials threaten to punish senior citizen couple. Senior citizen couple. Spend their lives. And these people are ordained pastors performing marriages. God bless them. But if they decline to officiate same-sex ceremonies, they're going to be in trouble, be prosecuted. Saturday, October 18, 2014. How many people think this is right? Any of that I'm talking about today is right. Here's a picture of this elderly couple, poor people. They'll try to make everybody to swear allegiance to this devil dude, and saying the Ten Commandments are hate speech and believing in Jesus is blasphemy, when the Pope and the Vatican and the rest of the world, the Talmudic Jewish folks, Zionists, leaders out of the United Nations with the occultic meditation room, when it's all publicly announced that this is the new religion, you have to take the mark of the beast, or you can't buy or sell any goods or have a job. So, Idaho, Alliance Defending Freedom Attorneys filed a federal lawsuit and a motion for a temporary restraining order Friday to stop officials at Core, Idaho from forcing two ordained Christian ministers to perform weddings ceremonies for same-sex couples. If I was a minister, I wouldn't want to marry two men or two women. Something that I think is that in the Bible it says you shouldn't be doing those kinds of activities. They're sins. We're all sinners. And we all try to be better. That's the nature of humanity. But to be proud of sinning seems like a dangerous road to be going down. And I'm reminded of Sodom and Gomorrah that went down that road. And the whole city was destroyed. City officials told Donald Knapp that he and his wife Ellen, both ordained ministers who run Hitching Post Wedding Chapel, are required to perform such ceremonies or face months in jail and thousands of dollars in fines. The city claims its non-discrimination ordinance requires the Knapps to perform same-sex wedding ceremonies now that the courts have overridden Idaho's voter-approved constitutional amendment that affirmed marriages as a union of a man and a woman. Well, there you go. Stuff's not going to stop unless we people wake up. The Christians were tolerant and compassionate to these people in these somewhat decadent sexual activities. And some of these people out there may generally love each other. But from what I've seen, been to Key West and other places, it's a little more about debauchery. And with the last video, the 3 girls doing group sex or group loving. And then the new word, pansexual. You can have sex with a bunch of people. Orgies, swingers, adultery. Ashley Madison website. Guaranteed to keep it confidential. Find you somebody to cheat on your spouse with. The city somehow expects ordained pastors to flip a switch and turn off all their faithfulness to their God and their vows. So I guess it's, you have to suffer the consequences of the local government or suffer the consequences of the Lord when you get to heaven. Probably they just gave up marrying people and walked away in disgust. All right, another interesting document here. The gay Jewish consultant behind conservative leaders. So you can't trust anybody. The gay Jewish consultant behind conservative leaders. So this gay Jewish consultant has proven his abilities at creating propaganda campaigns to get his client elected. Probably charges a lot of money. Arthur Finkelstein, there's a name, Jewish, says Jewish in the article, I didn't have to point that out, with Bibi Netanyahu, the guy who said in Fink's bar they're going to destroy America. Please look up Benjamin Netanyahu and Fink's bar, if you look up anything today. Or Prime Minister Sharon of Israel. Don't worry about America, we control America. The Zionist Jewish folks are not our friends. They were involved apparently in 9/11. Look up some material, watch some videos, buy some books. Webster Tarpley, 9/11. Judy Woods, 9/11. And so many more. Henry Ford's books back in 1920s and 1930s about all those Yiddish Jews coming from the Russian-Ukraine area and causing havoc and misery in the United States, taking over systems of schools and liquor businesses and movie theaters and radio stations and newspapers. They had a mission, and they had the financial support from an elite group of people who control the USA Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and using our own money against us. Just like they're doing over there in Germany now, shipping in all those so-called Arabs who don't really look like Arabs. They look more like the Zionist Jewish citizens. And I've seen them when I went down to Cancun, Mexico. There were many of these people, and I'm a friendly, chatty type of guy, and I said, hey, where are you from? And they said they were from Israel, and they were in the military, and they were doing a month-long vacation. And they had stops all the way along from the north end of South America to the south end, and houses all set up for them. Me, using my inquiring mind, I thought that was rather suspicious. And anyways, apparently it's going on. They're infiltrating hundreds of thousands of these people into communities. And apparently they're so-called raping women and giving the Arabs a bad name. Is it a plot? Michael Harris's book, A Party of One, and how one Canadian Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, assumed dictatorial powers, was focused attention on the role of veteran U.S. political consultant Arthur Finkelstein, 68 years old, whose resume reaches back to Reagan and Nixon. We've all been deceived and lied to. So this Jewish gay consultant was helping Nixon and Reagan. His clients include a who's who of right-wing politicians in the U.S., Israel, Eastern Europe, and Canada. Finkelstein is notorious for clunky but effective attack ads, such as those on Canadian Liberal leader Justin Trudeau. What are the chances Arthur Finkelstein is another link between the Illuminati banksters and their political vessels? Does this help explain the decline of parliamentary democracy in Canada? I don't make this stuff up. I read and report. There's Benjamin Netanyahu and Finkelstein. Finkelstein is the ultimate sort of strangelove, who believes you can largely disregard what the politicians are going to say and do, what the newspapers are going to do, and create a simple and clear and often negative message which, repeated often enough, can bring you to victory. Well, we're all getting used to that in America, the USA, and apparently in the European Union. They're bringing us these negative messages over and over and over. Global warming, terrorism, the dollar's going to crash, the stock market's going to crash, a plague is coming, a comet is coming, an earthquake is coming, and much more. So they have a way to mess with our minds, as I keep saying. In November, please vote for the Illuminati Jewish shill of your choice. So come this November 2016, we know the Illuminati will be hand-picking who's going to be running for presidents for both parties. So no matter who wins, they will win. The Illuminati Jewish shill. I just read these stuff. So imagine me, October 2014, and finding these things. That's what it says here, where my finger is. Finkelstein would also work for Ronald Reagan before joining Canada's National Citizens Coalition, an anti-big government lobby, but that Harper led from 1998 to 2002. Finkelstein was an American political consultant who worked for the NCC. He gave us political, media, and fundraising advice. He was, in fact, truth be told, one of the chief reasons behind the NCC's success. He was also the top Republican political consultant, if not the top American political consultant, period. He was also the guy who basically invented the negative ad. His nickname was the Merchant of Venom, like the venom of a snake. Here's one of his ads, I guess. So you can see how this gay agenda campaign, transgender and all that other stuff going on. People like this behind the scenes know how to mind control, use propaganda to sway public opinion, and they're into the school system, they're into magazines, cartoons, TV programs. We have all seen it, we all know it. But when are we going to do something about it? Another strategy of Finkelstein's was to give negative connotations to certain things through repetition and association. Spend and tax liberals, reckless coalition, that kind of thing. And I like to point out they got words like anti-government belligerent, if you talk about this stuff. Insurgent, if you try to fight this stuff. And terrorist, if you don't give up their gun whenever they do whatever they're going to do, so they can have an excuse that they need to disarm you, which prior to any other revolution, that's what they did. And then after that, they proceeded to mass murder people. If I get a little excited about this, it's concerning. I don't want a religion with this dude as my God. Do you? A lot of people don't believe in God because they've been mind controlled. They said the Bible is all fictionist. They've been mind controlled. They were in school. They had little pamphlets given them. Jesus was a myth. They were young and impressionable. They were watching cartoons. And the cartoon characters were saying it was a myth. And they shouldn't have to go to church. It's all crazy. We're off with the Jetsons, flying off into space. Another strategy of Finkelstein, I just said that. That strategy became known as the Finkel-Think. Harper gets a hand from the Merchant of Venom. Michael Harris connects the dot between Harper and Finkelstein, who is nicknamed the Merchant of Venom because of his skill with attacked ads. Finkelstein's modus operandi was always the same. Pinpoint political aiming at exposing weakness in an opponent, and then use a trenchant, repetitive advertisement to exploit the candidate's Achilles heel, Harris writes. So we have been denied probably a lot of good politicians because of these people. It gets worse. Finkelstein keeps a low profile, you think? Preferring to avoid the media and delivering his advice to politicians in face-to-face meetings. But Harris found a recording of a talk he gave in Prague in May 2011 in which he outlines his tactics. Interestingly, he told his audience that Greek riots could be used to discredit austerity opponents, which Harper's election ads did that month in Canada. So this man probably didn't care whether he was supporting a Democrat or a Republican. He didn't have any moral integrity in any direction. Apparently he had some kind of an announcement in a paper about him getting married to another guy. And he was just bent on destroying the other party so the people who were paying him would win. That's what we're dealing with. Okay, a little more on this. GOP consultant weds his male partner in 2005. There's a headline you don't see every day. Not that there's anything wrong with it, according to this writer. It wouldn't be worth mentioning if the consultant hadn't, through most of the 40 years of that domestic partnership, so he's with this other guy for 40 years, worked on behalf of some of America's most rabidly homophobic politicians. So here he was in a homosexual relationship, working for politicians who were winning their elections on a homophobic platform. If he wasn't the architect of Jesse Helms' political rise, if he wasn't acclaimed as the guy who slandered the term liberal in American politics, so he slandered the term liberal while he's in a homosexual relationship. If he hadn't worked for Presidents Nixon and Reagan, helped elect the likes of George W. Bush, New York Governor George Pataki, Senator Afonso D'Amato, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the man who said in Fink's Bar he wants to destroy America because Israel hates America. And so I suppose maybe Jeb Bush needs to get a hold of Mr. Finkelstein and get some attack ads on everybody else so the public can be fooled yet again. I had enough of that guy. There's more here. Much more. Look it up, document. I'll show you the title so you can look it up. There's more here, much more. Oh, looks like he's doing a little bit more here. Foreign Minister Lieberman has made his mark as one of Israel's more polarizing political personalities, with a penchant for arousing distrust of the country's Arab citizens and pushing legislation that many within Israel view as anti-democratic. So these people lie and deceive us all, and we don't see it coming, and the people just refuse to wake up. Okay, here's one. Slightly off topic, but just showing the forces behind the scenes and what they're trying to do, what I'm trying to point out here. Making sense of the Ottawa shooting. Apparently they had a shooting in Ottawa, Canada. Everything was calculated to exaggerate the threat. According to this writer, October 22, 2014. And here's why. If Bebur was working for ISIS, this would be the shooter, and ISIS is Western-backed, the Pentagon and NATO controls ISIS, which was derived from Al-Qaeda, which was created by the Pentagon and NATO when Russia was in Afghanistan at war. So ISIS is a derivative of Al-Qaeda, and apparently they were created by the CIA. Basically what they are is they're mercenaries. They're people who paid to put hoods on and do things to make the other group look like the perpetrators. So they do these shootings in Canada and the rest of the world. The French shooting, bombing recently. San Bernardino, Batman shooting. The guy going into the church full of black people. We don't know how much mind control or forgery is in these events. But they are driven, like all this gay agenda propaganda, towards chaos and anarchy that George Bush Sr. said would be required to bring about a new world order. So they need to crash the system and destroy everything before they can have their new one world order, with this guy as the god. That's a mouthful. So if Bibi was working for ISIS in that shooting in Canada, Ottawa, and ISIS is a Western-backed creation, money comes from, weapons come from, trucks and all that, destroying Saddam's country, Syria and Assad's country right now. They did do Saddam's Iraq and Egypt, and had that president dragged through the mud and killed. Libya, Gaddafi, and many more. The Ukraine, and overthrew that president, and weeks later shipping out 35 tons of gold to New York, according to King reporting. And I don't believe everything I read or see, but there are some common denominators, and enough of it that keeps coming and coming and coming. You go, wait a minute, that's just too obvious. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes. I know who the perpetrator is. Maybe tied in with those gray aliens and reptilian creatures, stuff in the Bible, the snake in the Garden of Eden. You think? So Henry Mackay, PhD, the Canadian Jewish author I keep talking about, wrote this article. Because I am a Canadian, some readers have asked me for my take on the attack Wednesday of two of the Canadians' national institutions. First, an honor guard at the National War Monument, Corporal Nathan, was shot and killed. And afterwards, the shooter, Michael Bibio, whose father is from Libya, was able to enter the Parliament building, where he fired off some rounds before being killed. So usually these shooters wind up dead, so they can't really tell what happened. The fact that Bibio, however you say his name, Bibio, was able to enter the Parliament buildings with a rifle is highly suspicious. This is Henry Mackay, PhD, Jewish-Canadian author who wrote the book Illuminati, the cult that hijacked the world, wrote this essay. I see this incident in the context of what Albert Pike, there we go, predicted in his famous letter to Mazzini. The Third World War would be between Zionists and Islam. All this stuff is staged. All this news every day about the crashing of the economy. The droughts caused, in my opinion, by the sky spraying and the HAARP microwave transmitters, which the people who control the HAARP transmitter in Alaska said not to worry. We shut that off in 2014 because the generators were defective and polluting the sky in the boondocks of Alaska now. So we're all supposed to not worry about that. But then if you go on HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, images and look at them, you'll notice that there's HAARP transmitters all over the world. Strategically located. South, north, south, north, south, north. So they can turn these on anywhere and control the weather, besides the sky spraying that anybody can walk outside, take a picture of or a video of. So if you don't believe your eyes, just look at your own picture or your own video, your camera. So weather warfare, weather control, crisis actors and all these set-up situations, creating fear in the public, all plotted and planned because of this new one world order religion that they're trying to put statues of this horned dude in our courthouses and take down the Ten Commandments. They've already eliminated Christianity and Christmas. They're working towards it with all the propaganda on cartoons, newspapers, magazines, TV programs, movies, etc., etc., etc. Even billboards. I think one Christmas season, they had huge gay billboards. It's in my collection here somewhere. We'll come across it. I printed out the data. Promoting the gay agenda. Some guy with a shirt off and jeans on and boots, acting like a gay man. mysteriously, all those billboards disappeared all of a sudden. Somebody was voicing concern. They pulled them down quickly. There is a need for all Westerners to feel like Israelis under the constant threat of terror. So that's one thing they're trying to do. The Israelis are over there massacring the Palestinians, and they want us to believe the Palestinians are the threat. So the little dot on the map, land they stole, surrounded by a continent the size of the United States, where they've been murdering people, and now they're evicting all those people, and apparently they're putting them into the European Union and the United States in the middle of the night, and hordes of them walking up the highways as we've seen on TV news programs, and the threats and complaints of women everywhere that they're raping all the women in Switzerland and Germany and Norway, etc., etc., causing grief and chaos in Greece. And even in the United States, UPS planes converted to passenger planes, shipping them in, and buses waiting and delivering them to unsuspecting rural neighborhoods in Pennsylvania, etc., etc., etc. They're taking over our world right in front of our eyes. So this is Henry McCall, PhD, Jewish author, writing this stuff here. So there is a need for all Westerners to feel like Israelis under the constant threat of terror. So they want us to feel like the Israelis, and it's all a lie. They're having a lie. They're bringing people advertising, marketing, to get people to return to Israel. This is called the return after 2,000 years. And these people are not the remotest relatives of those people, of course. In the Bible in Revelation it says, Jews who call themselves Jews but are not. And all these people looked interestingly very white. They don't look like Hebrews of the Egypt and the Middle East. And Khazars, which is to the north, were very white. And apparently quite a ferocious horde of people, probably where Genghis Khan came from, who invaded that whole area and slaughtered untold numbers of people. In order to have a confrontation between Zionists and Islam, you need to build up an Islamic enemy. ISIS fills that role. Remember, this is Canadian Jewish author Henry McCall, PhD, who wrote the book Illuminati, the Cult That Hijacked the World. So much smarter guys wrote all this stuff that I read and report. And I keep copies, as Bill Cooper said, who wrote the book The Pale Horse. Document, document, document. Make sure you document everything. And I listen to him. You don't want anybody to accuse me of not having the document. I got them on disc. I got all the original books, as we've seen in my Freemasonry and Satanism series. And magazines, all the Nexus magazines and other magazines. I've got an awesome collection of all the UFO stuff. Moon landings, so-called. 911. I have all that and much, much more. Tons of information to back up my research. It was created by Zionist intelligence services. This is ISIS. CIA, CSIS, Mossad, that would be Israelis' intelligence service, etc. This is Henry McCall saying this. They can't demonize all Muslims because they have to explain why they are important, why they are importing so many. So while they're demonizing the Muslims, they're also importing them into our countries. Why are they eliminating all of them from the Middle East around Israel? With all those, with oil fields and natural resources, metals, gems, and so much more. Then you have the Zionist-controlled nation. Zionist-controlled nations. Now remember, this is not me. This is Henry McCall, PhD, famous Canadian author, who wrote the book, a couple books, Illuminati, the Cult That Hijacked the World. Listen to what he says. I know what I've been saying, and I keep telling people don't believe me. Then you have the Zionist-controlled nations. Now remember, Prime Minister Sharon of Israel said they control America. Benjamin Netanyahu, the current leader over there, says they hate America and they're going to destroy America. And Henry Macau here says, and then you have the Zionist-controlled nations, the U.S., Canada, the UK, France, etc., declare war on ISIS. So the Zionists control, these would be the Rothschilds, banksters, a version of witchcraft, by the way. Zionism and witchcraft have satanic ritual ceremonies, sacrificing and drinking blood, according to what I'm doing, eating flesh. Something maybe not of the normal human DNA, so they say, from people who have escaped, like Arizona Wilder in her interview with David Icke and many others. And apparently this more pure blood, snakester type creature, reptilian, the leader is called the Pindar. And they do have these ceremonies in these Illuminati groups, according to my research, and I've gone over it in my videos, and we'll go over it again and again and again, where they do abduct people or whatever, sacrifice them, gruesome sexual rituals, and so much stuff I can't describe because it's just too gruesome, too horrible. It was enough for me to go and research it and watch the videos and read the material. I said, oh my God, what are we dealing with? What are we dealing with? In response, ISIS has warned of terror attacks, and right on schedule, there have been 2 now. So this thing in Quebec, or Ottawa, Canada, Henry Macau seems to be that it's all part of the plan of these fake enemies, which are controlled by our Pentagon, our NATO, our CIA, our intelligence services, along with Israel's Mossad, all these leaders running our country. United States is occupied and controlled by Israel's Zionist, as Prime Minister Sharon said. You can look it up. And he was in a coma shortly after that. They had to shut him up. They didn't want him to explain what he said in his heated argument in their Congress. And somebody had a tape recorder. At Fink's Bar with Benjamin Netanyahu, somebody had a tape recorder. Look it up. And we all know by now the mass media is a collaborator in present and future wars, indicating all false flag terror. As per PhD, Jewish Canadian author Henry Macau in Canada wrote this essay. What gets me is the exaggerated sense of danger and mass hysteria Wednesday, as if the purpose was to just plain frighten Canadians. So one guy shoots one guy and they made it into a media hysteria event. That was the purpose. Just like all the stuff in the gay agenda material that comes out all the time. Lesbians make better mothers. I went over that document once. Why pretend that there were more than one unless you want to exaggerate the event? Members of Parliament, office workers, etc., were stuck inside all day long for no reason. Look what they did during the Boston bombing. Shut down an entire city and barging into people's homes door to door. They were making a point. They were making an impact on our psyche. Children in the parliamentary daycare were stuck there until early evening. In the evening, Prime Minister Harper, went on TV and said Canada would not be intimidated by the Islamists. They made their point. The whole exercise seemed calculated to make Canadians feel threatened like Israelis are, and more committed to the Israeli cause. Well, I hope I made my point on this video. We're in trouble, folks. Ottawa Police RCMP pointed guns at some journalists not to take pictures. So the journalists were taking pictures, and the Ottawa Police were pointing guns at them and said, don't take pictures. What kind of world are they bringing us? And Obama recently taking executive action, orders, to increase more gun controls, saying he's not trying to remove guns, but effectively that's what it does. So anybody like me doing research, being an author, video maker, might be deemed medically ill, mentally ill, medically ill. And so, hey, I can't get on a plane or buy a gun. And if I have a gun, they should take it. So anybody trying to tell the truth about this new world order, new age, and is against the transgenderism and everybody using, the boys using the girls' bathroom and the girls using the boys' bathroom and all of us accepting it, and not accepting this, you're mentally ill. That's the way it's going to wind up. They're going to make you swear allegiance to the devil. Take the mark of the beast. This is all prophesized. What was said was going to happen is happening, apparently. ISIS, per department, CIA, MI6, Mossad, tweets photo of supposed shooting suspect before Ottawa police knew. So somebody tweeted a photo of the shooting suspect before the police even knew who it was. That poor sap, the guy who was shot, probably had nothing to do with nothing. The real terrorist is Harper and his minions as the leader of Canada. But he gets his marching orders from the higher-ups in Ottawa, Washington, and especially London, UK. It would be the Zionist banksters and high-level Masons and Illuminati, high-level Jesuits and Vatican people, and all those other groups of the secret mystery school of Babylon, i.e., I like to call it short so people understand, witchcraft. With this guy as the head guy. Which maybe there are these beings that have been on Earth all along that are reptilian, and that's just another depiction of these reptilian creatures on our planet. And apparently they're manufactured gray aliens, which are basically robot-like creatures. And so much more. So continuing on and ending this video, William Cooper's chilling New World Order revelations, October 21, 2014. William Cooper's 1998 Majestic 12 broadcast. I'll have to look that up. Sure, I can just Google or Yahoo search William Cooper Majestic 12 broadcast, and it'll be on YouTube. One of the most frightening things you'll ever hear. We are victims of an elaborate deception. Almost everything the U.S. government and mass media tells Americans, is a lie. So think about that when we go over global warming, biodiversity, where they're going to fence off 50% or more of the United States and then have a border around that, force all the people into the cities, try to confiscate the guns, and look and see if the Americans defend themselves. And that'll be a horrible event. There'll be a slaughter of a lot of people. And then have everybody microchipped and everybody into cattle-like atmospheres, i.e. communism, which was created by the Bolshevik Jewish people who took over Russia and killed 100 million people, they say. I think 25 million admitted in an Israeli newspaper. You can look that up. Bolshevism, Russian Revolution, 1917, 100 million people killed, destroyed all the Christian churches, but not the Jewish temples. The USO is already a de facto fascist dictatorship run by the Masonic Satanists lurking behind a facade of freedom. The foundation for a totalitarian communist world government is already in place. Those who cannot accept this paradigm shift will be exterminated. William Cooper, famous author. Hundreds of videos on YouTube. Beware the Pale Horse. Mystery School of Babylon. Just look up that. Watch some of his videos. Our political and military leaders are members of this cult. This cult. traitors. The UFO ET phenomenon, including Roswell, is a long-term government psyop designed to trick humanity into accepting a Messiah-like ruler. The Apollo moon missions were faked. William Cooper was employed by the U.S. Navy intelligence. He was mistaken for a Freemason, so they moved him up. And had access to the Illuminati's secret plans, dubbed Majestic 12. Anyways, a little bit more here, and I'll finish this up. William Cooper, Majestic 12. Please go look that up if you're even curious. William Cooper, Majestic 12. Many years I have had access to a set of documents that I eventually realized was the plan for the destruction of the United States of America and the formation of a socialist totalitarian world government. The plan was contained within a set of top secret documents with the title Majestic 12. The term honored the planned placement of ultimate power in a body of wise men who are destined to rule the world as the disciple of a Messiah frontman. This Messiah will serve as a buffer between the wise men and the sheeple. That's we people who don't see this coming. Or some people call them zombies. Mind-controlled masses. I discovered these documents between 1970 and 1973 while I was a member of the intelligence briefing team of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet. The plan outlined a formation of a world totalitarian socialist government, communism. It is to be ruled behind the scenes, council of wise men, a so-called benevolent dictator. Does this guy look benevolent? Those kids seem to think so. Anyways, there's much more here on this article. Go look it up. Excerpt by Henry McCow. Here's a picture of William Cooper and his dog before he died. The source of this conspiracy will be found in a body known as the Illuminati, which was announced. Its creation was by Adam Weishaupt in 1776, the same year as we had the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America in 1776. Do you think there's a coincidence? Same forces were operating behind the scenes. Took over the Federal Reserve in 1913 with Woodrow Wilson, who had all kinds of Jewish advisors around him, and nobody else, much to the disdain of the other political party leaders and operators, senators, representatives in Washington, D.C. They had his ear. They were controlling him. And apparently there were some reasons why they could control him, i.e. blackmail. Some issues if you want to look into it. The Illuminati, it is made up of the highest adepts of the combined total of the so-called fraternal orders and secret societies. As I've been saying, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Rosicrucian, Freemasons of all types. And of course, not all members of these organizations are in the know. They are dupes, but they are part of the big war machine, because when you do join a lodge, you have to swear allegiance under threat of death and obey the master. These are facts. I made videos on this in my series Freemasonry and Satanism, where I have hundreds of hours of videos on many books, 100+ books, documents, magazines, so much more, photos, thousands of photos I've flashed on my videos that I paid for to have produced. Anyways, they are bound together by blood oaths, a secret religion. A secret religion? And the promise of an elite status within regional government. That's why all our politicians are going along. They're going to have a promise of elite status within regional government. And read the Protocols of Zion, because they kind of ridicule these people, non-Jewish people who are going along as traitors. And in the end, they'll be sacrificed also. But these non-Jewish people think they're going to get to be part of the world domination program. So they're going along right now. And they're getting a lot of money and live in nice mansions. And their children go to the better schools. And they're traitors to our society, our world. Or the world super government. That's what they plan on. A super government to rule the world. The United Nations will be the arm. And it's causing the biodiversity, global warming issue, population reduction, sustainability, all this stuff. The gay agenda. Their religion is based upon the Kabbalah, the Luciferian philosophy, and the worship of the sun. Two nuclei, the elite core of the Wall Street clique, orbiting the House of Rockefeller, and the elite core of the European financial clique, orbiting the House of Rothschild, coordinate this global conspiracy by waging psychological warfare on the rest of the conspirators, telling each no more than is necessary for him or her to fulfill their designated role. Often with the explicit recognition neither of his role nor of the unarticulated rules that govern him. Thus the overwhelmingly bulk of the conspirators do not know but only suspect what is going on. So even the people, all these dupes and politicians and Bill Gates and Ted Turners and all these other nasty people who say there's too many of us and we ought to be dead, this is what they say about them, that they are part of and in service to a power somewhat so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive, that they had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. And I'm quoting Woodrow Wilson, who conspired with them to create the Federal Reserve, which gave the money control of America over to these Illuminati banksters. And they've been using our Federal Reserve, sucking the money out of the American people for world domination, and saying that we owe 13, 17 trillion right now. None of that was spent on us. It was robbed from us, in my opinion, and many others. When an individual joins a branch of the Brotherhood, by any name, Freemasonry, Theosophical Society, Anthroposophic Society, Fraternitas Rosicrucian, Knights Templars, Sovereign and Military Order of the Knights of Malta, or any other fraternal order or secret society, no one ever sits down with them and explains the meaning of anything. An actual, literal, esoteric education would be too dangerous. But they do have these rituals where they abduct people and sacrifice them and drink the blood and eat the flesh. And apparently they're part reptilian or something, according to people who have come out of the closet and told about it. Like participant Arizona Wilder, who was raised as a child to be involved in these ceremonies because of her particular blood type. And she escaped. She tells all about Pindar and abductees and the Queen. And many people in high places who are privy to these rituals, and they have to wear long robes, because apparently when they drink the blood or eat the flesh, they revert back into some kind of reptilian form, which would burst their original clothes. If you can believe this stuff. If you can believe anything, what about this? It's just too crazy. I research and report. People decide. Anyways, it could result in public expose, something which the Illuminati must avoid at all cost. So they don't tell these people involved the real goings-on. But to give those who might understand a shortcut, Illuminati is communism. Communism is Bolshevik Judaism, Zionism. And the Jesuits, all these people involved in witchcraft are involved. The Kabbalah, Madonna in the Kabbalah, and her ritual during a football halftime show, and Beyonce's football halftime show, and many others, and the Grammys shows. You can see the Satanism in the show. They're doing a satanic ritual. Lady Gaga in the Olympic opening. Go watch an Indiana Jones show or two and see what it looks like. These people are putting it in our faces. And the gay agenda is on the top of the heap of this pile of propaganda and garbage being forced on we the people. All right, first comment by Dan. So somebody left a comment here. Thank you. After all these years and all my research and everything we've learned since those naive 90s, including me here, more sure than ever that Bill Cooper was the real thing, and he was killed for it. And he knew he would be killed for it. He said in his first Hour of the Time, look up Hour of the Time on YouTube, fantastic videos, audios by Bill Cooper, shortwave radio broadcast in 1993, that he was invoking a death sentence for what he was going to reveal. And I think anybody that's in this kind of research has that concern in the back of their mind. The people who are behind the scenes controlling this whole operation do not want it out to the public. So I have all these documents over 10 years. And I thought it was time to get them out of the boxes and onto some video, and then I can store them away again. One last document, North Carolina Department of Revenue, 2013 October. It was in my stack of 2014 documents. Same-sex marriage and filing status. Under Rule 2013-17, the IRS now allows same-sex spouses to file their federal income tax returns using the filing status of married filing jointly or married filing separately. So anyways, just some document I noticed as a businessman that I came across. This whole issue goes all the way to the top. We all wonder who's behind the scenes, what's behind the UFO alien thing, what's behind the New World Order, what's behind 9/11, Oklahoma City bombing, all the shootings, all the propaganda, all the fear-mongering, threats and everything else. It's all planned. This is their deity, maybe? Thank you for watching my video. If you feel so inclined, there's a donate button in the comment section. It help out. Take some notes when you watch my videos. Look up the documents, make a little binder, share it with your friends. My aim is to give people a shortcut in this education. I don't think you have 11 years to come up to speed where I am, so I made all these videos so people would have a shortcut. Rick Marrico reporting.